me explain. Hi everyone, Sarah from Weathered Halloween, and I'm very excited to be closing this chapter of my Anubis mask. I made a part 1 where I covered sculpting him and making the mold and pulling the only one successful pull out of it, and I let him sit around for a bit while we worked on our yard. Now is the time that I had to come back to it, and I recorded everything. And I'm about to watch part 2 with you, where I'm going to explain with excitement how well this came together. Kind of. This is like putting lipstick on a pig. Everything that could have gone wrong making it did. But the outcome exceeded my expectations. And as the creator and the builder of it, after having experienced everything that went wrong, everything from bad feedback and criticism to just not having enough experience, I am proud of this. So I'm gonna watch it with you. So after letting my mask sit around for a bit while I contemplate my my attack, I finally knocked the dust off it and brought it to the table, the dining room table, of course. But here I am cutting the flashing off. Now, if you saw part 1, when it was still in the mold, we had it leak everywhere, and I knew it was pretty thin. So over time, I would go in with a cup of latex and just brush surfaces, and I neglected the back headdress kind of on purpose because it looked fine, but also I had a few mentions about how it should just be fabric anyway, so I figure latex is pretty durable. If I just left it thin, it will behave like fabric, which it does. Cutting this flashing off is like cutting a wad of hair with really bad scissors. The scissors are fine, it's just what I'm cutting. Easily, some of it in sections were like 3/16 or 1/8 thick of a mix of caulking and latex. Again, if you see my part 1, I got really desperate in trying to save this. So there I cut a breathing hole, the eyes, and for what I'm comfortable with, the flashing around it. Again, thicker in some parts. I just really tried to make it work the best I could. Here I am, wearing it for the first time properly. And yes, I can see. So breathing hole, good. Eyes, I can see. Ears are no good. So we will use contact cement. The first time I used it on those bubblegum masks at the back there, I've never used contact cement before, so when I did, I didn't wait for it to dry. I just kind of assumed it'll be fine, and it didn't, and I had to redo, and I learned to just slow down. And having done those bubblegum masks, I went into this not really panicked. I was willing to just settle, and I accepted that I need to problem solve things because I don't know what I'm doing. Here I am. My intention was to spray foam just the ears because I wanted them to be rigid and strong and stay up, not flop down. I don't want to put wires in and all that. So it's filled just at the ears. And I know that ears that stand out aren't normal for jackals, but it's done. Okay, I am mixing part latex and part dollar store acrylic paint to get the base coat that I want. And I love that latex. Again, Sculpture Supply Canada was worth the drive. So I didn't have a specific ratio. I kind of just kept in mind that I wanted the elasticity, the flex of the latex. So I'm really using what I think I need, and I'll make more if I need it, which I did in some cases. But I probably put, with that brush, maybe 6 scoops of latex in, and I just played with my colors to get the shade I wanted for my Anubis, because I know he's not accurate in some people's eyes. I wanted the fierce Doberman look, the sleek. I want him to look unimpressed. I'm happy with my sculpt. I'm just gonna leave it. When I did the ears, when I spray foamed them, I can't get into a hole that big and like make sure it's in there. And when I sprayed, I'll pause right there. When I sprayed the ears, the applicator tube, I had to cut it at some point because I had a jam. I let it sit for a bit and I had a jam. I had to cut it and it was shorter than I wanted, so I couldn't reach into the ears. So I tried to like manipulate and push down some of that spray foam. And when I did, it seemed like I didn't fill in all the way and created an air pocket, but over time it did expand, it did fill in, and I just can't put anything that sits in it. So that's good. Here, I am getting ready for my rub out. So I have a container with 70% IPA, and I got my spray bottle, and it's just black. And again, I put in the amount of alcohol for what I think I'm gonna use, and just added, you know, maybe 6 drops of black. It is an expensive hobby, so I'm not just gonna glug a whole thing of IPA into a bucket, stretch it out. So first application, spray it, let it dry, and rub out. Already I'm impressed with the way that he looks. And I can see right now, looking at this video of his ears and looking at his actual ears, that I really pushed the limits and overdid it. But again, it's done and it didn't leak out. I'm happy with it. I gave it another spray. That's what I love about working with these mediums, is that, you know, the bubblegum mask you see in the background there, I was really, really careful and aware and kind of like taking my time with it. This, I knew what had to happen. I just did the thing. I was not very stressed out. I just kept reapplying where I thought I needed. But it is important to let it dry a bit. Don't just start wiping off right away. I wasn't happy with that cheek. Now when I sculpted him, I didn't have calipers. I used a fabric measuring tape. I sighted him. I just kind of did the best I could with what I had. Okay, again, I did a couple scoops of latex to the white acrylic from the dollar store. I am a bit intimidated by the airbrush. I'm not really ready to use that on a finished product. So I steered clear with it, and I actually do feel more comfortable with a paintbrush because it feels like I'm just taking accountability for every brush stroke. I don't feel like I could lose control using it, whereas the airbrush, I'm just not as familiar with it. So I feel like I could lose control, and then having to stop and troubleshoot fixing all of wherever the overspray and stuff like that. I just don't have the touch yet, and I didn't want to practice on this. So I'll practice in the off season, if there is one for building Halloween props. I did about 3 or 4 coats of this white, and this whole project took maybe, between domestics, kids, school, stuff like that, maybe about 4 days, just spread out. So he was with us for every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because that's my workstation. And by the way, because we work in construction, we have all of our little fun tools. Putting that DeWalt fan on a Lazy Susan is the most incredible and most useful thing I have come across in building something like this anyway. But for anything, I mean, look, it can spin, it can tilt, you get every angle. It fits a head perfectly. Like, it's awesome. With this, I kind of wanted to do like a reverse rub out. I wanted to, because Anubis is a god, I wanted to make his highlights stand out with gold, because gold is one of the accent colors. So I would take my sponge, wet it in the gold ink and alcohol mix, and just dab and wipe, and I would get kind of the mid-tones, but then I would go in with a brush after and just make sure I get the highlights that I want. And I'm very pleased with the outcome. And there I am with just straight black ink, getting the spots. Now, in the beginning, I wanted to put like a black mesh in the breathing hole and in the eyes. And then after wearing it a couple times, I don't want to block off my breathing hole in any way. No one is looking at that. And then with the eyes, the fact that I can see through, I find interesting. So I decided not to put mesh in the eyes, because it's far enough ahead on me that you can't really see my eyes anyway, but I can see you. Going through with the little details, the nose, I'm trying to accent a lot of those highlights with the black underneath to make them pop. And now is the time for doing his headdress. Again, a mixture of latex and the dollar store paints. With the gold paint on the right, I added some gold ink to get some of that shimmer, and it worked. And when I did my lines on the headdress, I didn't make marks with a measuring tape. I used my 2 fingers as like markers, and then I tried to copy what I did outside in the yard when we had our infinity mirror. I had Anubis on either side, and his headdress I painted a certain way, and I wanted my headdress to be a certain way. I really lucked out with his headdress being as thin as it is, because it really does behave and look like fabric, which is one of the comments I got throughout my sculpt. When I was sculpting with the clay, I had a few people say, just do a half mask. He has fabric on the back, and I didn't want that. I wanted built-in wraparound. I didn't want to rely on fabric. I just wanted to do this. This is what I wanted. Like I said, for the time and money, I'm just gonna do it my way. And the thing is, I can see everything wrong with it. I can't sell this. Even though I've had an offer, I've had to break someone's heart and say, sorry, this is not good quality. This is a home project. But at least I got my feet wet. So there I am, using my fingers as my little divider. Do what you gotta do. So I did more coats than that, but that's just to show off and kind of get a look at how even things are. In my costume that I got from Spirit, I got the Cleopatra outfit. My daughter noticed that there's some accessory types inside, including the headband. And she suggested I hot glue it on like a piece of my headdress. I thought it was an amazing idea, and that's what I did. So I kept that aside. I love that Lazy Susan, and I love that fan. I highly recommend anyone, if you are unhappy with your armature or your jig, whatever you're using, I don't know how much that fan was, maybe $200 or less. The Lazy Susan I got at the Goodwill store. For simplicity and ease and you know, a user-friendly stand, this is the way to go. I highly recommend just getting this set up. That is the same blue that I used outside in my yard. It's not necessarily the same blue as my costume. I will allow it. I didn't want the white to be so white, so I made my own kind of like tarnished, brown, weathered mix in my inks with the alcohol spray. I only used what I needed in the bottle. I only had just a smidge to work with. I could always make more, but I didn't want the white to stand out. So I made it look like kind of dirty fabric, old, dirty, weathered fabric. I mean, the mask, it looks and smells and feels like anything I would buy at Spirit Halloween. Regardless of how it looks, it fits. I can see in it. I've had my picture taken with it. I think that is so flattering that on Halloween night people would say, hey, can I get my picture with you? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, I know I'm spraying inside, but it was pretty cold out. I opened all my windows and doors and I laid a fabric on the floor, like I covered around. Did a couple light sprays, got my coverage, and it was gloss because I wanted him to shine. If it's gonna be dark out, and he is dark, that I want all the lights in the yard to catch his face. And there I am, hot gluing the accessory on. I love the draping beads down the side. They make noise when I move my head, they catch light. Yes, I burned myself. I'm sure all of you burn yourselves too. And I had to take pictures of it in my yard. There's our centipede, Pikel, centipede. And then there I am wearing it. And I love how in the back it actually flares out. I had a couple kids kind of scared of coming up to me, which was also a good feeling, but I lifted my mask and said, hey, it's me, it's okay. Doing this project was a lot of fun, and it's full circle. It's exactly how I planned it. I'm very pleased with the results. So having said that, I would say my takeaway with this is that for anyone out there struggling with a vision and you try to execute and things go wrong, push through, just do it. You won't know the results until you actually bring it to completion. With this mask, I lost a lot of faith when I had the latex leak all over my kitchen floor. Using caulking as a gap filler in the mold cracked. Pulling it out, cutting it up, I had holes. The spray foam in the ears was a bit overkill. In the end, I'm 100% happy with what I made because it's mine. I made it from start to finish. It turned out exactly the way I wanted. It is fully functional. I can wear it, and I would like anyone out there who's struggling with your creations, look at my mask and know that I did struggle. It was hard. I did lose faith, but I pushed through and it worked out. Trust the process. Keep trying. And that's what I did. I kept trying and I kept going and it worked out. So that concludes this video and the mask. I'm very happy with it. Thanks for watching. Please share and subscribe. We really appreciate your support, and happy haunting!